Hello and welcome This is my presentation for today. It's entitled Reimagining the Madrasa, Marginal Women's Agency and Discourses of Psychogeographical Empowerment. And then I'm going to move on to the next slide. So this is a brief, background of where I come from and what kind of things I'm doing and where I'm being affiliated with. So that's my name. I'm Muzhafar Idrus. I am currently affiliated with University Science Islam Malaysia. The field of research is literature mainly, but I also examine anthropological literary studies. So that's currently my current research interest. And for today's presentation, it is a research that is derived from my previous and current research on psychogeography of madrasas. So part of the psychogeography of madrasas have to do with the marginal women, the topic that we're gonna examine today. Moving on to why I have conducted this research. This research reveals the firsthand narratives, the interpretation, and the lived realities of women in de-urbanized settings. So, because I draw upon Sidaway's concerns on the non-urban psychogeography, I have looked at women who reside, who frequent, also women who provide services at madrasas that are situated outside the urban areas. And I also did this research simply because I want to challenge and I want to bring the voices of these marginal women to the center of discussions. Because a lot of times news accounts mainly portray and color people inhabiting these areas as suffering or as living in an area where it is backward, where there are so many violence and where there are a lot of dangerous environments. So that's what I'm trying to tap into. Moving on to the context and literary integration. So this research builds upon James Sidaway's psychogeographical theory, and I extend this understanding to examining the non-urban rural Muslim spaces. So the rural Muslim spaces as being used in my presentation have to be considered as the madrasas in which these marginal women reside. It incorporates literary geography and feminist psychogeography. And most importantly, this research taps onto the studies of Malaysian poetry and urban psychogeography. What I'm trying to say is there has been a lot of research on Malaysian poetry and urban psychogeography, but none of this research has focused on marginal women at madrasas. So that's the goal that I'm trying to get at for this research. My methodological approaches are as follows. So my team and I, we went to Madrasa. It's called Madrasa Al Baraka, but the name is pseudonymized for the purposes of anonymity. There were 67 women identified. However, only 50 narratives were analyzed. Data collection were done as follows. We conducted through 3-day field work. We included participant observation and also flaneur and derive exercise with writing and reflection. So that's how we collected the data. And our framework of analysis were as follows. Once we receive these narratives, we then look at the settings, characters, actions, problems, and resolutions. So we did multiple readings. We verified with the community leader, and then we provide our analysis. Moving on to the reflections or moving on to the findings of our research. There are two of the many broader findings that we have established thus far. One is the agricultural labor as spiritual and feminist praxis, and the other one is collective solidarity and communal harmony. So, on the one hand, we have women who not only are committed to religious and spiritual establishments or callings, but we also have women who see their labor as intertwined with religious devotion and knowledge production. That's the first part of the finding. The second part of the finding, we also looked at how women challenges, typical representation of madrasa. Okay, so these women wrote their narratives, and they have shown that the madrasa themselves are not a place of danger. Madrasas are not places of violence. Instead, the madrasa is depicted as a hub of interdependence where women support each other through daily rituals, study circles, and community services. All right, so that's all for this research. This research was funded by the Ministry of Higher Education under the Fundamental Research Grant Scheme. Thank you very much. Have a very good day.